Well, I'm here with the Blue Raja and Mr. Furious to talk to you about Shovel Knight. We're throwing some chairs at that. It's from Yacht Club Games. It was kickstarted a year or two ago, actually. It's written on a custom C++ engine. You can find it at yachtclubgames.com/Shovel Knight. It's $15. You can pick it up on Steam or the Humble Store. What is it? Shovel Knight is a sweeping classic action-adventure game with awesome gameplay, memorable characters, and a retro 8-bit aesthetic. If you love games with perfect platforming, beautiful art, infectious music, crazy bosses, humor and levity, and real heart, Shovel Knight is for you. And, of course, we're going to put Shovel Knight on the rack and subject it to the chairquisition. One chair means that it's shit. Two chairs means that's pretty good. Three chairs means... Or no, one chair means that's shit. Two chairs means that's meh. Three chairs means it's pretty good. Four chairs means shut up, take my money. It's awesome. Pedro will plagiarize Yahtzee 1,000,000 times over.
Yeah!
It is. We also have our categories that do mix with the working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So, Ven, this is hipster pixel trash. So how did it work on your overpowered PC? I'm sure it brought it to a standstill.
It did. I mean, I had to enable the turbo boost mode I'm just fucking with you. We ran it on the Ubuntu 1404 LTS dual 770 octo-core box of business. And it ran without a hitch. It launched fine. No issues. Controllers and all that. Fine. No glitches. No hang-ups. You know, I've put well over almost 2 ons into it. And no complaints. Which is nice to see. For a change. 4 chairs! Deal with it.
I was actually pleasantly surprised with this. This game has like stupid low system requirements. I tested this on the A10-1500K base system and the 1090T 670 superclocked combo of By My Footness here. One thing that I really liked is the fact that you can just plug in a controller. You don't have to restart the game, which is, you would think that should be a common feature in 2014, but it's not.
And I'll back you up on that. It works.
Yep. So 4 chairs. It gets it on that merit alone.
Yep. And for me, on the calculator, using Ubuntu 1404 64-bit with the Intel i3 370M and the 5650 HD Mobility Radeon with the open source 10.4 Mesa drivers, it ran out of the box, no issues. The controller was detected out of the box, no problems. So 4 chairs.
All right, so that's 4 chairs for Make with the working. Shiny and sounds. Then.
Shiny and sounds. Now this, I'm going to have to come off the notes here. Mario 3, Zelda 2, DuckTales, and Mega Man jumped into a snog box. And this popped out 9 months later.
Scientifically accurate DuckTales.
In all fairness, you know, I played those games that I mentioned, and I beat every single one of them on the old NES. They didn't look this good. This is more of, not an 8-bit, a 16-bit. This reminds me of SNES days. And I'm not even going to touch on the parallax scrolling argument, because I know some people are going to come in and scream, what about Battletoads and Mega Man 3 had parallax scrolling? It didn't. That was a trick to make it look like it. Shh, it's okay. But it genuinely looks nice for what it is. No issues with that, but the sounds. Fuck, mothering, the sounds, the bells. They are stupidly accurate to the 8-bit era. I don't know if that was jarring my brain organ, looking at 16-bit graphics and 8-bit sounds that were kind of spooky, like brought me back. And I was like, whoa, 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 I remember all this business. And nope, had to cut that knot. So I put on some Slayer, as is tradition, and all was well. Looks good, sounds horrible, but it still gets 3 chairs. J-Man.
Yeah, no, I mean, the main aesthetic goal of this game right from the outset is to recapture the sort of 8-bit, 16-bit magic with the audio and the sounds. And it accomplishes its goals very well. Like, it basically looks like a game you might have played on a NES or Super Nintendo back in the day. As for sounds, I usually play platformers without any noise. I found it a bit distracting, so I cut that off. But that aside, I mean, it looks as good as it's going to, given the limitations that the artists put on themselves. So I got to give it 3 chairs for that. Not mind-blowing, but it gets the job done.
Well, for me specifically, it's the standard hipster pixel fare. The graphics were nothing to write home about. They were reasonably well done. There were no glitches that I could see, so they worked. It gets 2 chairs right from that. But I actually had to mute the music because it made my eardrums bleed. We're talking that really loud, really obnoxious chip tunes.
Yeah.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
So yeah, 2 chairs for me.
All right, so that's 2 chairs for Shani and Sounds. Up next is Control. Then
Controls. Check this business out. Look at it. In all its magnificence, this is the X-Clone controller that we've pretty much came to the conclusion that this is an Xbox controller that fell off the truck and just didn't get all of its branding. Worked out of the box. No issues with that. The jumped, and the shoveled. Character movement. It felt sluggish. Honestly,
Yep.
I feel the entire game, for me, would have been more enjoyable if I could maybe give it a 10% speed boost, because everything felt slow. But, that said, the mechanics are spot on. You can absolutely stick those jumps, grab the ladders, and you do your pogo jump. Perfect. So it's definitely built around that. Inventory management, fucking useful. That's weird, considering you basically have your 2 buttons, plus your start and your select. Workable. You can actually sit back on your couch organ and play this without needing your gerbil or keyboard anywhere around. The special attacks at first I thought, well, that's a bit kludgy. But then again I thought, well, this is kind of how we used to have to do it back in the Nintendo days with our 2 buttons, and they made good use of that. It worked. No complaints. So I guess at the end of the day, that's something I would never think about giving hipster-pixel trash a 4 chairs.
So I really have 2 problems with this game. Number 1, I'm used to playing this style of game on a handheld. My first exposure to platformers was Super Mario Land on the Game Boy, and that's more or less been the context to which I played platformers from then on. I really want to play this game on a toilet, but I can't. That involves moving PC and moving the Steam box over to the bathroom, and that's just
Get an x86
Wait,
tablet.
I
and
thought you
install
said
Linux.
moving feces.
that is way too much effort when I have to take a dump. The other thing is, games like these require a good D-pad, and the Xbox controller severely lacks it. I gave it a try with my Hori Precision. I'm starting to think this guy's actually broken because it stopped working for most games. So I had to tough it out through using the shitty D-pad on the 360 controller. Yeah, but besides from that, yeah, the controls are pretty spot on. Like Ben said, you have no issue making jumps and whatnot. The controls are very consistent, no glitches, 3 chairs.
You know, you can tell the game is using SDL2 or some incarnation of it when this thing works out of the box properly mapped. It's actually amazing. But yeah, PS2 DualShock was recognized, no problems, everything was mapped sensibly. And at first, much like Ven, I thought that the character moved as though he weighed a ton. Everything was very sluggish. It felt weird. But then I realized that it was just the animation. It didn't actually matter mechanics-wise because they made so the animation, the character's animation, looked as though he was heavy. And it makes sense because he's wearing a full plate armor and he's carrying a shovel around. But mechanics-wise, everything was right. Say, the hitbox moved the moment you push the button for your character to move. So for me, no problems, 4 chairs.
All right, so that is 3 chairs for controls. And finally, fun. Ben, did you have fun?
Well, we all know how much I love retro hipster pixel trash. It's right up there with turn-based strategy. But you're going to ask yourself, Vin, is this game fun? Yes. For a hipster pixel game, this is on the top of the nostalgia grab pile. Is it Nintendo hard? No. It's boringly easy compared to what I grew up with. Does it have problems? Well, let's check with the judge on this business. I had to put on a hard hat when I was fighting the bosses because it was beating me over the head with like, look, We are showing you boss patterns. Remember those? Like, oh, I get it. But what you don't remember is those boss patterns were a limitation of actual hardware back in the day and the amount of space you had, and developers did everything they could to disguise those patterns to make them look more random. This goes out of its way, and I found it just unnecessary. And in the old times, get off my lawn,
The long before?
long time ago, it's just
Ages ago in distance past.
billions of years ago in the future's past. And another thing that the hipster-pixel genre lacks across the board that I've not seen is something we used to, hello, motorcycle that just went flying by. Slow down. Slow down. This is something that was still even prevalent on the SNES and the Genesis, is when you had too much shit getting busy together with the pixels on the screen organ, you had to deal with that, and that was a real thing that you had to learn to work around. I would like to see that introduced if you wanted to go old school with something. And finally,
Space Invaders.
what was my life system, bro? I want my 3 lives. Seriously, that's Nintendo hard right there. But then Zelda 2 had a battery in it in Metroid.
You played Zelda 2.
Yeah, I did. And you could have a big, long, complex save code in Metroid and all that. That's true. Bring that shit back. Give me a little battery meter. In fact, don't even give me the little battery meter for your CR 2032. Just make it randomly forget your fucking game and start all the way back at the beginning. Or make me get out pen and paper and write some analog code. It's like, oh, I'll remember that and make you punch it in with a fucking controller.
But Ben, you have like a tablet. You can just snap a picture of it.
Brilliant. Bring that shit back. And honestly, having a checkpoint system in the levels, that's just fucking too easy. I mean, when you knew you had your lives, even, all right, let's just say we didn't have the life system. But if you died and you had to start back at Genesis, that gives you a little more fuck, as, oh, right, back at the waypoint. Okay, oh, I die. Oh, okay, let me start it. You just memorize it and go through it. It's not that difficult. But that said, at the end of the day, take that shot. I gotta admit, it was fun. It kept me coming back for more. I'm gonna give it 3 chairs. That's the highest I've ever done for hipster pixel trash. J-Man.
Who are you and what did you do at the real Ben Stone? You're an imposter placed here by Putin or the NSA. Anyways, really, I hate to say this, but this is the wrong platform for this platformer. I would honestly say I might have had a lot more fun with this game if I were playing it on the 3DS.
Yeah.
Playing it again, this was just the context in which I was raised to play platformers. I'm used to playing them on a handheld system. Playing it like using an actual controller on a TV just weirds me out. Like it almost detracts away from the enjoyment, because this is something I would want to play on the crapper. So the game itself is fun enough. It's a love letter to all those hipster pixel games of yore. It does it. I'd say it does it well. It has the secrets. It may not be as fuck you hard as some of these old games, but I don't think it necessarily has to be. It's more, the game sort of reflects your own skilled level. If you're really good at platforming, this game is going to be easy. If you suck at platforming, this game will be hard. And that's really all I have to say about it. Final, like I said, probably I would have liked this better if it was on the 3DS. I have to play it on Linux though, because this is Linux Gamecast, not Linux 3DS cast. So 2 chairs.
Yeah, I'm not a big platformer fan. It's platforming games. I used to play them a lot in the early 90s because that was basically all there is for the Master System back then. So yeah, I played a lot of it. DuckTales, Alex Kidd, whatever the subtitle was, but yeah. Platformers, for me, they have to have something that sets them apart from the rest. And this game doesn't. In fact, the whole point of this game, like Ben already mentioned, it's to harken back to those days where platformers were the norms, so to speak. It's the 8-bit era. You got a character, 2D movement, jump around, be precise, and all that.
Jump up, and get down.
Pretty much. But Okay, I'll give it that it does have the Metroidvania elements to sort of break the monotony of the platforming. But for me, a platformer, in order to be interesting, it has to be something like Rogue Legacy, Awesome Knots. Those are pretty awesome. But that's because the platforming is a secondary thing to the roguelite in the case of Rogue Legacy, and the MOBA in the case of Awesome Knots. So, don't get me wrong. For what it is, the game is solid. But I really don't like platformers. 2 chairs.
So that's 2 chairs for fun. And if we tally this all up, this ultimately becomes a 2-chair game. So, gentlemen, final thoughts.
I'll tell you something that would definitely turn this into a 3-chair game. 50% off. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm just going to put that out there. I mean, the Linux port was severely delayed. So, just showing a little bit there. They did a good job on it. I mean, the port we got was polished. It works. The controllers work. I mean, the game is fun.
Yep.
I'm intrigued enough. I went through one part. There was one of the knights I was fighting that irritated me enough to was like, okay, I want to figure this out. Then I got into the upgradings and all that fun stuff. I might go back to this when I have nothing going around, or I might just save it for the home. At $14.99 wet stinky cashes, I can't say run out and buy it, even if you're a huge fan of, the hipster-pixel genre, or if you're getting off my lawn and you're my age, you don't want to remember when games were shit. Because this was, I said this to myself, I don't know if I ever wrote it down. If this game was, or if anybody ever made one that was completely accurate to what we used to have to deal with, no one would fucking play it. So we can't really fault them for not including all the bullshit that we had to deal with. It's just you have to realize that there are going to be some things you're like, what? We didn't have this growing up. J-Man?
I mean, so I've seen several Let's Plays of this game. They actually do give you a good amount of content. I'm not sure if it's $15 worth of content, maybe 10. I think the price point is a little too high, like Ben said. But other than that, it's a pretty solid platformer. It definitely has the fundamentals down, which is probably one of the more important things in a platformer. There's look at all this experimental shit we do. You remember that one, the 3 Dead Z? That one did not have its fun. That one did not have its fundamentals down, and that made it suffer as a game as a whole. So there's that. If you're into platformers, if you're into retro style platformers, definitely check this out. Wait until it's on sale. Pedro?
Yeah, like Ven said, this game would get 3 chairs if it cost $10. If it cost $5, yeah, definitely. But for me, in order to actually get the 3 chairs, it would have to have much better music. Don't get me wrong, I love chiptunes, as long as they're done properly. This game, they're not. They're completely obnoxious. If you guys, bit of spit there. If you guys need recommendations on who to use or on who to hire to do chiptunes, get someone like BitShifter or Disaster Piece. Those guys are pretty good.
No.
Well,
what did Yacht say? Just hammer cat's tails or something like that and record it?
Yeah,
that was a Monty Python sketch.